You know what's fascinating? Walk into any room, any office, any social gathering, and there's always that moment. Someone brings up last night's game. The room lights up. People are animated, debating, replaying moments like they were there on the field themselves. And then there's you, standing there, nodding politely, feeling absolutely nothing. Wait, you don't watch sports? They ask, like you just confessed to something unthinkable. And here's the thing. You've probably been asked this 100 times. How can you not be into sports? But what if I told you that your disinterest isn't a flaw or a personality defect? What if it actually reveals something profound about how your brain is wired, what you value, and how you find meaning in life? Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of not watching sports. Because this isn't about being contrarian or trying to be different. It's about understanding yourself at a fundamental level. Let's start with the basics. When most people watch sports, something specific happens in their brain. They experience what psychologists call vicarious achievement, the ability to feel genuine joy, excitement, and even pride from the success of people they've never met. Their mirror neurons fire. Their dopamine spikes. They feel like they're part of something bigger. But here's what's interesting. Not everyone's brain responds this way. And it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your psychological makeup is different. You experience what researchers call value incongruence, when society collectively celebrates something that your mind simply doesn't find rewarding. And that's not rebellion. That's not you trying to be edgy or unique. That's pure, raw self-awareness. After studying behavioral psychology and interviewing hundreds of people who don't watch sports, I've identified 5 distinct psychological profiles. Each one reveals something powerful about how certain minds process meaning, connection, and purpose. Let's break them down. First, we have what I call the autonomous achiever. These people don't hate sports. They just can't connect to the emotions everyone else seems to feel. When a team scores and the crowd erupts, they're genuinely confused. Why are we celebrating? We didn't do anything. Here's what's happening psychologically. Their brain has low receptivity to external validation. They don't get dopamine hits from borrowed success. Their reward system only activates when they accomplish something, when they make progress, when they solve a problem. Neuroscientists have found that these individuals have different patterns of activation in their ventral striatum, a part of the brain responsible for reward processing. While most people's brains light up watching their team win, the autonomous achiever's brain stays relatively quiet. It's not broken. It's just calibrated differently. These are the people who say things like, I'd rather spend 2 hours learning a new skill than watching strangers play a game. And psychologically, that makes perfect sense. Their motivation is intrinsic, not extrinsic. They find meaning in self-improvement, in mastery, in tangible personal growth. To others, they might seem cold or disconnected. But in reality, they're just fiercely independent thinkers who see no psychological reward in celebrating someone else's victory. Their fulfillment comes from within, not from shared tribal experiences. Then there's the awakened skeptic. This type is particularly interesting because they weren't always this way. They used to watch. They used to care deeply. They had favorite teams, favorite players. They lived for game day. But something shifted. Maybe gradually, maybe all at once, they started seeing the machinery behind it all. The commercialization, the corporate sponsorships, the way fans pour emotional energy and actual money into supporting millionaire athletes and billionaire team owners. The tribalism that divides people over literal game results. What they're experiencing is what existential psychologists call disillusionment awakening. When entertainment that once provided meaning suddenly feels hollow because it lacks authentic substance or personal growth. They had a moment of clarity. Wait, I'm sitting here screaming at a TV screen over a ball, and my own life hasn't changed at all. I'm not healthier. I'm not smarter. I'm not closer to my goals. What am I actually getting from this? This isn't cynicism. This is pattern recognition. They realized that the emotional investment they were making had zero return in their actual lives. The hours spent watching, the emotional roller coaster of wins and losses, the arguments with friends and strangers online, none of it translated to meaningful progress in their real existence. So they stepped back, not out of superiority, but out of awakening. They don't reject sports itself. They reject the illusion that it deserves the sacred status society gives it. They've reprioritized their time and energy toward things that create actual value in their lives. And here's the kicker. Once they made this shift, they often can't unsee it. Going back to intense sports fandom feels like regression, like willingly putting blinders back on. Now let's talk about the alternative enthusiast. This profile is often misunderstood. People assume they're anti-sports or that they lack passion altogether. Wrong. They have incredible passion, it's just directed elsewhere. These are the people whose eyes light up when discussing music theory, automotive engineering, film cinematography, gaming strategy, architectural design, or 1,000 other interests. Their brain's reward system works perfectly fine. It just needs different triggers. What's happening here psychologically is fascinating. These individuals have what neuroscientists call specialized dopaminergic pathways, meaning their brain releases feel-good chemicals in response to specific types of stimulation that align with their personal interests and cognitive style. For them, sports feel repetitive and passive. Ball goes in goal, crowd cheers, repeat. But put them in front of something that matches their interests? That's when everything changes. A collector analyzing a rare vintage car, a gamer solving a complex puzzle, a music lover dissecting the production of their favorite album. That's where their brain comes alive. It's not about superiority. It's about neural compatibility. Their mind craves interaction, analysis, narrative depth, or aesthetic appreciation, things that traditional spectator sports don't provide them personally. Think of it like food preferences. Someone who doesn't like pizza isn't broken. They just have different taste receptors that respond to different flavors. The alternative enthusiast brain responds to different forms of engagement. And here's what's important. They're not missing out. They've found their version of passion. It just doesn't involve a scoreboard. The fourth type is the pragmatic realist, and they're refreshingly honest. When asked why they don't watch sports, they don't give philosophical answers. They say, because I'm broke, struggling with my career, and watching millionaires play games while I'm stressed about rent just makes me feel worse. This isn't bitterness. This is emotional intelligence. They understand that watching sports isn't actually an escape for them. It's a reminder of the gap between where they are and where they want to be. A reminder that while they're grinding through difficult circumstances, others are living in luxury, doing what they love. Psychologically, this is a form of protective disengagement. When exposure to certain content triggers negative self-comparison or amplifies existing stress, the healthy response is to limit that exposure. Others in this category take it a step further. It's just sports. It's entertainment. It doesn't cure diseases, doesn't solve real problems, doesn't change anything meaningful in the world. That's not being a killjoy. That's having a utilitarian value system, one that measures worth by practical impact and tangible outcomes. For these minds, investing emotional energy in sports feels irrational when there are real problems to solve and actual goals to achieve. They're not numb to joy. They're just selective about where they invest their limited time and energy. And in a world that constantly demands our attention, that's actually quite wise. Finally, there's a fifth type that's emerged in recent years, the overstimulated modern. This person is constantly bombarded with content, notifications, news, trends, and entertainment options. Their attention is fractured across a dozen platforms. For them, adding sports to the mix feels like information overload. They're already keeping up with work emails, social media, streaming shows, podcasts, YouTube videos, news cycles, and personal relationships. The idea of also tracking teams, players, stats, schedules, and game results? It's exhausting. This is cognitive bandwidth management. Their brain is protecting itself from excessive stimulation by filtering out non-essential input. And for them, sports don't make the priority cut. They're not lazy or disengaged. They're actually hyper-engaged with multiple other things. Sports just didn't win the competition for their limited mental resources. So here's the truth. Not watching sports doesn't mean you're defective, cold, or missing out on life. It means your brain is wired differently. Your values are oriented differently. Your reward system responds to different stimuli. Maybe you're the autonomous achiever who only finds joy in personal accomplishment. Maybe you're the awakened skeptic who saw through the illusion. Maybe you're the alternative enthusiast whose passion burns bright for different pursuits. Maybe you're the pragmatic realist who's just being honest about how it makes you feel. Or maybe you're the overstimulated modern who's protecting your mental bandwidth. Or maybe you're a combination of several types. The point is this: when your energy is focused on building your own life, learning new skills, and creating meaningful progress. It's completely natural to feel disconnected from watching other people's stories unfold on a field. You're not broken, you're just different. And that difference reveals more about your psychological sophistication than most people realize. So which type resonates with you? I'd genuinely love to know. Drop a comment below and let's have a real conversation about this. And if this perspective shifted something for you, hit that subscribe button. We explore psychology, meaning, and the human mind every single week. This isn't just content, it's a community of deep thinkers. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.